told you that trying to save all your cash, like stuffing it in a piggy bank or just leaving it untouched in a basic checking account, is actually one of the fastest ways to lose your wealth.
I mean, it sounds completely counterintuitive, but it is entirely true.
Right. Today, we are hacking the system. Because if you are listening to this right now, and yeah, I am talking directly to you, the high school student who clicked on this hoping to finally make sense of money.
You probably feel like financial terminology is basically this dry, math-heavy secret code.
Oh, 100%. It's like it's designed specifically to put people to sleep.
The whole industry really has a massive branding problem, to be honest.
Yeah, they really do.
It is often taught like a historical textbook full of rigid formulas, It feels completely detached from the very real, very urgent decisions you are making every single day.
And that is the exact mission of our deep dive today. We are throwing out the textbook entirely.
Absolutely.
We want to prove to you that managing personal finances is not about sitting in a dusty room with a calculator, hoarding pennies.
Definitely not.
It is actually the science of managing money flow, building value, and protecting yourself from risk. And to make this click, we are going to look at the sources and apply the ultimate 21st century framework.
I'm so ready for this.
I want you to think of your personal finances exactly like managing a Twitch channel or a TikTok account.
Which is a remarkably robust parallel to draw, actually.
Yeah.
Treating your life like a digital platform is basically the ultimate cheat code for your future freedom.
It really frames everything perfectly, doesn't it?
It does. It forces you to navigate the big things coming your way, like, say, whether or not to take on student loans, in a completely different light.
Right.
It helps you avoid the psychological traps of financial regret, too. But most importantly, it shifts your focus toward building systems of income.
So that you aren't forced to just endlessly sell your time for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
Because selling your time forever sounds like the ultimate bad ending to a video game. I mean, I hate the idea of just being on a treadmill.
Nobody wants that.
No. So we are going to break this entire game down. We'll start with the daily mechanics of money flowing in and out, move into the hidden psychological traps of spending, and figure out how to literally build a financial empire.
And finally, we will build a fortress around that wealth so nobody can knock it down.
Love that.
The mechanics of the game are actually quite elegant once you see them. The basic rules of macroeconomics map seamlessly onto the decisions you are already making online and with your friends.
Okay, so let's unpack this from the ground up. The fundamental lifeblood of any system is the flow of money, right? Income and expenses. Let's stick with our channel analogy.
Let's do it.
If I am running a Twitch stream, my income is basically my live viewer count. It's the energy, the resource coming in.
Right.
And according to the sources, there are really only two fundamental ways to generate that income in a market economy: selling labor or selling capital.
Let's strip away the jargon and look at what those actually mean in practice.
Please do.
Well, when you are just starting out in a market-based economy, the most accessible way to generate income is selling your labor.
Okay.
You show up at a job, and in exchange for your time and effort, you receive a wage or a salary. The secondary method is selling or renting capital.
Meaning what exactly?
That means taking excess resources you already own and deploying them so they earn interest, pay dividends, or generate capital gains.
I have a real problem with the phrase selling my labor, though.
Why is that?
It makes it sound like getting a job is basically entering a market where the employer is just buying me off a shelf. Like, am I just a product?
Well, no, you are not the product, but
Yeah.
your skills, your time and your output absolutely are. Understanding this distinction is how you win the game.
Okay, I'm listening.
It helps to look at the underlying market dynamics. Picture a high school student looking for their first job. Maybe it is bagging groceries, working retail, or running a register at a fast food place.
Right, the classics.
At that stage, you generally lack specialized experience. And because there are millions of people who can perform those specific tasks, the supply of available labor is incredibly high.
Right. If I walk into a burger joint, I don't really get to slam my fist on the counter and say, I demand $40 an hour to flip these patties.
No, they would just laugh and hire the person standing right behind you in line.
Exactly.
That is exactly the dynamic at play. When supply is high, it creates what economists call a buyer's market. The employers are the buyers of labor, and they hold almost all the leverage.
Because they have options.
Exactly. They can offer minimum wage because the alternative for the worker is making zero. But getting an education, learning a complex trade, or developing a highly specialized skill completely upends that power dynamic.
So how does that actually work in reality? Like, if I learn how to code, does the market just magically respect me more?
It is not about respect. It is about scarcity. Let's say you spend the next few years becoming a highly proficient software engineer specializing in artificial intelligence. Or you become a master underwater welder. The pool of people who can do what you do shrinks from millions down to a few thousand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, suddenly there are more employers desperate for your specific rare skills than there are people who possess them. The market flips entirely.
So it becomes a seller's market.
Precisely. And in a seller's market, you, the seller of the labor, dictate your price. You hold the leverage.
I love that framing. You want to level up your character so your stats are rare, and then the top guilds have to pay a massive premium just to have you on their roster.
That is a great way to put it. You go from being easily replaceable to be heavily recruited.
Okay, so that covers income, the live viewers coming in. But on a channel, you also have people unsubscribing, you have churn. In our financial framework, these are our expenses.
Yes. Expenses are simply the costs for resources that are consumed in the course of daily living. And the defining characteristic is that they recur.
Like food and rent.
Exactly. You
Mhm.
consume food every day, you consume shelter every month, you use electricity and data constantly.
Taking it back to the Twitch channel, I have to pay my server costs, my internet provider, and my electricity bill first. Those are my fixed expenses, right?
Yes, they are.
I literally cannot hit the go live button without them. I have to secure those before I can even think about buying those fancy new LED background lights, which would be a discretionary expense.
That hierarchy is crucial.
Yeah.
And it brings us to the core mathematical reality of personal finance. Your budget balance.
It is a simple equation, right? Income minus expenses.
It is.
Hmm.
And if your expenses exceed your income, you are operating at a budget deficit.
Which in the streaming world means my channel goes dark.
Right.
The hype is dying, I'm losing more subscribers than I'm gaining, and eventually the servers get shut off.
A deficit is entirely unsustainable over the long term. If you find yourself in that position, the laws of economics don't care about your feelings.
They really don't.
They dictate that you only have three possible ways out. 1, you ruthlessly cut your costs. 2, you raise your income, perhaps by working more hours or finding a better paying buyer for your labor. Or 3, you borrow.
Okay. Borrowing to fix a daily deficit. I want to look at this carefully.
Sure.
If I am running my channel and I'm losing money every month, borrowing cash to cover my internet bill feels like paying a sketchy service for bot viewers to make my stream look popular.
Wow, yes.
It is fake growth, and worse, it adds a brand new expense, right? Because now I have to pay interest on the money I borrowed to buy the bots.
Exactly.
So it literally just creates an even bigger, more terrifying deficit for next month.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize the danger. Borrowing for daily consumption is a downward spiral. It creates an illusion of stability while actively hollowing out your future financial foundation.
It is the worst kind of trap.
It really is. But let's look at the other side of the equation. What happens when your income outpaces your expenses? You achieve a budget surplus.
The channel is booming. We have more subs than ever. The chat is moving fast. But I assume the advice isn't just to let that surplus sit in a pile.
You certainly can, but a surplus is not just extra money to spend. A surplus is raw material. It is power.
I like the sound of that.
Now, you can choose to consume it. You could go out and buy those LED lights or buy an expensive dinner.
Right.
You get the immediate enjoyment, but the resource is completely gone. Alternatively, you can save it. You put it in a traditional bank account where it sits securely, retaining its base value, serving as a shock absorber for emergencies.
Okay, so that's two options.
But the third option, and this is where wealth is actually generated, is that you can sell your excess capital.
Sell my excess capital. We're moving from the labor market to the capital market now.
We are. You take that surplus cash, the energy you captured, and you deploy it into the credit or capital markets.
How so?
You place it in a high-yield investment account, or you purchase ownership in companies through stocks, or you buy government bonds. When you do that, your surplus actually goes to work for you.
It generates its own income.
Yes, your money starts making money completely independent of your physical labor.
Which circles right back to the beginning. Now I have two income streams. I have income coming from my active labor, and I have passive income coming from my capital.
Exactly.
My overall viewer count is going up exponentially without me having to stream for more hours.
And that is the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
But getting to that initial surplus and making the right choices to keep those expenses down is notoriously difficult.
Yeah. Why is that?
Because even if you have a surplus, you inevitably run into a wall. limited resources.
Scarcity. I can't buy everything. If I have $100 of surplus, I can't buy $200 worth of stuff.
Precisely.
I have to make choices. And this is where we have to talk about the hidden psychology of spending, because our brains are basically wired to trick us here.
They really are.
Let's talk about opportunity cost. I used to think the cost of something was just the price tag on the box.
Most people do. But opportunity cost is not a dollar amount at all.
What is it then?
It is defined in economics as the lost benefit of the next best alternative that you gave up when you made a decision.
Okay, the sources use a sneaker analogy that I think is perfect for this. Let's say I have exactly $100 of surplus cash left for the month.
Okay.
I have been eyeing these limited edition sneakers online, and I really want them. But my entire friend group is going to a concert this weekend, and a ticket is also exactly $100.
A classic dilemma.
Right. If I click buy on the sneakers, I am not just handing over a digital $100 bill. The real cost of those sneakers is the concert.
Yes.
It's the memory of being in the crowd with my friends, the live music, the inside jokes I'm going to miss out on. That sacrifice is the actual opportunity cost.
It is a profound concept when you internalize it. Human psychology makes this incredibly difficult for us to process in the moment.
Why is it so hard?
We are wired to cheerfully focus on what we acquire in a trade. You hold the sneakers, you look at them, you feel a dopamine hit from the acquisition.
Oh, definitely.
We completely and often willfully ignore the invisible ghost of the thing we sacrificed. We actively suppress the thought of the concert we missed.
Because it feels bad to think about what we lose. But if opportunity cost is everywhere, how does it apply to bigger financial things?
Well, let's explore that.
Like, I've always been told that paying cash for everything is the ultimate flex. If I have the cash, I should just use it, right?
Let's challenge that assumption. Suppose you save up $10,000 and use all of it to buy a used car outright.
Okay.
You feel great because you have no car payment. But what is the opportunity cost? First, you sacrifice the interest or investment returns that $10,000 could have earned if you had kept it in the capital markets.
Oh, right.
More importantly, you lost your liquidity.
Liquidity. Let's unpack that term. That just means how fast I can turn something back into spendable cash, right?
Exactly. Cash is perfectly liquid. A car is highly illiquid. It takes weeks to sell a car at a fair price.
Makes sense.
If you tie all your cash up in the vehicle, and tomorrow a phenomenal once-in-a-lifetime investment opportunity arises, or you have a sudden medical emergency, you cannot access that $10,000 quickly.
You sacrificed your liquidity.
Yes. In the financial world, losing liquidity is a massive opportunity cost because it restricts your future choices.
Wow. Okay, so opportunity cost is about looking forward, evaluating the invisible paths you aren't taking.
Exactly.
But what happens when you look backward and realize you walked down the wrong path entirely? This brings us to a concept that I think every single person struggles with.
Sunk costs.
Sunk costs and the psychology of regret.
Sunk costs are exactly what they sound like. They are costs, whether that is money, time, or emotional energy, that have already been spent and can never, ever be recovered.
Okay, I'm going to throw a very real, very painful high school scenario at you.
Let's hear it.
Let's say I drop $70, which is a lot of hard-earned money from my part-time job, on a highly anticipated, massively hyped new video game. I boot it up, I play it for 2 hours, and I realize it is absolute trash. The mechanics are clunky, the story's incredibly boring. It's just a bad game. But I cannot get a refund.
A classic dilemma. What is your instinct in that situation?
My instinct is to say, I worked 10 hours to earn that $70. I cannot just let it sit on my hard drive.
Right.
I feel obligated to force myself to play it for another 40 hours, being miserable the entire time, just to feel like I somehow got my money's worth.
And that instinct is the textbook definition of the sunk cost fallacy. Let's analyze the reality of the situation coldly. That $70 is gone.
It hurts to admit.
It has evaporated from your ledger. Whether you delete the game right now and never look at it again, or whether you suffer through 40 agonizing hours of gameplay, the outcome is identical.
Which is what?
You are never getting that $70 back. The money is truly sunk.
But if I don't play it, I feel like a failure. I feel like I made a stupid choice.
Yes, you are trying to avoid the pain of admitting a mistake, but look at what your proposed solution actually does.
What does it do?
By forcing yourself to play it, you didn't magically recover your money. All you did was add a second loss to the first one.
Oh, no.
You lost $70, and now you have also wasted 40 hours of your finite, irrecoverable time being miserable. You compounded the error.
Oh, man. I threw good time after bad money.
This is why the psychology of regret is so dangerous in financial planning. Regret violently colors our future choices.
That makes total
A
sense.
core, non-negotiable principle of economics is that rational decisions can only be made based on future prospects, never on past investments.
So you just have to cut your losses.
Recognizing sunk costs for what they are is the ultimate strategic maneuver. It is how you amputate a bad decision before it can infect your future budget and your future time.
Right.
The train is over, the money is gone, move on immediately.
Accept the loss, take the L, and free up those 40 hours for a game I actually enjoy or a skill I actually want to learn.
Exactly.
That is incredibly freeing, actually. Okay, so let's zoom out and look at our overall strategy so far. We are managing the daily flow, keeping expenses under income. We are aggressively dodging the mental traps of opportunity costs and sunk costs. Because of this discipline, our surplus is actually starting to grow.
Which is fantastic.
But holding a bunch of cash in a digital checking account isn't going to build an empire. Cash just sits there losing value to inflation.
Very true.
We have to transition from short-term budgeting to long-term wealth creation. We need to define what an asset actually is and figure out how to get them using debt and equity.
This is a pivotal transition. This is where you shift from merely surviving the economy to actively bending it to your advantage. Let's start with a rigorous definition.
Okay, what is an asset?
An asset is an item of economic value that can be converted to cash. But the crucial distinction, and this is where millions of people go wrong, is that assets are not just possessions.
Wait, really? What's the difference?
You might have a massive collection of vintage wind-up toys that you absolutely adore. But unless there is a liquid market where buyers are eager to pay a premium for them, they are not serving as an economic asset. They are a hobby.
Right. An asset has to actually pull its weight in your portfolio. And the sources outline 3 distinct superpowers of a true asset.
Yes, they do.
To qualify as a wealth-building tool, it has to do at least one of these 3 things: store wealth, generate income, or reduce future expenses.
Let's examine each of those superpowers. Let's look at reducing future expenses first.
Okay.
A classic example is a dependable commuter car. Buying a car generally does not store wealth. Cars are notorious for depreciating, meaning they lose market value every single year as they rack up mileage.
Yeah, the second you drive it off the lot.
Exactly. And it certainly doesn't generate passive income. But if that car allows you to commute to a higher-paying job, and it reduces your daily expenses compared to paying for expensive ride shares or unreliable public transit, it provides immense financial utility.
Oh, I see.
It is an asset because it optimizes your expense column.
Okay, what about the other 2? Generating income and storing wealth.
A simple, unglamorous, high-yield savings account or a certificate of deposit at a bank does both simultaneously.
Really?
It stores your wealth, since the principal amount is federally insured and waiting for you, and it actively generates income in the form of compound interest. It's not flashy, but it is a true asset.
But then there's the holy grail, right? An asset that does all 3. The sources point to real estate as the classic example.
Real estate is a powerful multi-tool. If you purchase a house, it reduces your expenses because you are no longer paying rent to a landlord who builds equity off your payments.
That makes sense.
It stores your wealth because you are slowly building ownership or equity in the physical property with every mortgage payment. And crucially, it can generate income.
Like renting out a room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You could rent out a spare room or eventually realize a massive return through capital gains.
Capital gains. Let's pause and thoroughly unpack that term because it gets thrown around on the news constantly and sounds like intimidating Wall Street jargon.
It is actually a very simple concept.
Yeah.
A capital gain simply means selling an asset for more money than you originally paid for it.
Okay.
If you buy a house, a share of stock, or even a rare comic book for $100, and 5 years later the market determines it is worth $150, and you sell it.
Yeah.
That $50 profit is a capital gain.
And if the market tanks and I sell it for $50, that is a capital loss?
Exactly. The holy grail of wealth building is acquiring an asset that safely stores your wealth, actively generates passive income while you hold it, and eventually results in a substantial capital gain when you decide to sell it.
This completely changes how I look at my own spending. If I am looking at my life and I am consistently buying things that do not reduce my expenses, do not generate income, and do not store wealth,
Then what are you doing?
I am just buying toys. I
Yeah.
am consuming. I am not investing. That is a massive mindset shift.
It really is.
But this brings up a huge glaring roadblock. What if I understand all this and I want a high-powered asset like a house or a college education or high-end broadcasting equipment for my streaming channel? But I don't have the cash right now. I have a deficit of capital.
Then you must cross over and become a buyer in the capital market. You must tap into other people's money to accelerate your timeline.
Okay, how do I do that?
There are two fundamental, wildly different ways to do this: equity and debt. Let's explore equity first, which is conceptually similar to sharing the pie.
Okay, let's bring back the Twitch channel analogy. Let's say my channel is doing okay. I have a small, loyal audience, but I know for a fact that I could explode in popularity if I had a top-tier processing PC, professional studio lighting, and a broadcast quality microphone.
Sounds like a solid plan.
But I'm a high schooler. I don't have $4,000, so I go to a friend who does have some savings. I pitch them.
What's the pitch?
Buy me this $4,000 setup. In exchange, you don't just get your money back later. You are now a co-creator, and you get 20% of my channel's net profits forever.
That is a flawless micro-scale illustration of equity financing. You are selling a permanent ownership stake in your enterprise in exchange for an immediate infusion of capital.
So what's the benefit for me?
The immediate benefit to you is obvious. You get the cash you desperately need right now, and you completely avoid taking on a liability.
Right. If the channel completely fails and I get 0 viewers, I don't owe my friend a monthly payment. I don't owe them $4,000. The risk is entirely shared.
But the hidden cost of equity is astronomical if you succeed. The downside is exactly what you offered. They get 20% of the profits forever.
Oh, wow.
If you become the next multi-millionaire streamer making $10 million a year, your friend is passively collecting $2 million a year off an initial $4,000 investment.
Yikes.
You traded a massive chunk of your future potential for immediate safety.
That is terrifying.
It is the reality of corporate finance. Let's look at one of the most famous real-world examples in history: Google.
Yeah.
In 2004, the founders, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, had a brilliant product, but they needed an incomprehensible amount of capital to expand their global server infrastructure. They couldn't just walk into a local bank and ask for a billion-dollar loan. Banks don't take risks like that without collateral.
So what did they do?
They utilized equity. They held an initial public offering, an IPO, and sold over 19 million shares of stock to the public.
They raised $1.67 billion in a single event. Anyone who bought a share literally became a micro-part owner of Google.
Precisely. They secured the war chest they needed to build their global empire. But the cost of equity is permanent.
Right, because they gave away a piece of the pie.
To this day, 20 years later, they must share all of their company's phenomenal world-changing gains and profits with those shareholders. When you sell equity, you are permanently slicing up your pie.
Okay, so what if I am fiercely protective of my pie? I believe in my channel. I do not want a co-creator leeching my profits 10 years from now. What is the alternative?
The alternative is debt. If equity is sharing the pie, debt is simply renting the money.
Renting the money. Okay, so instead of making my friend a co-owner, I go to a bank or a lender and take out a personal loan for the gear.
Right.
They hand me the $4,000 for the PC setup. I keep 100% ownership of my channel, and I retain 100% of my future profits.
Right, yeah.
But I take on a rigid liability. I sign a contract promising to pay back that $4,000 plus an additional fee called interest out of my future earnings.
Exactly.
And the terrifying part is I have to pay it back even if my channel completely tanks and I make $0.
You've identified the exact trade-off. With debt, you keep all the ownership and all the upside potential, but you absorb 100% of the risk, and you add a new mandatory fixed expense to your monthly budget, which is the interest payment.
Now, I need to push back on this pretty hard, because if you spend 5 minutes on social media or read any news site, you are bombarded with messaging that debt is inherently evil.
Yes, you are.
Especially for young people. We hear about the student debt crisis ruining an entire generation. We are told to avoid debt at all costs. Isn't going into debt just a massive trap?
This is perhaps the most misunderstood concept in personal finance, and it requires nuance. The headlines deal in absolute panic, but from an economic standpoint, we need to analyze the value of debt.
Okay, what is the value?
Debt is a neutral tool. It is an accelerant. What debt actually does is allow you to acquire an asset and the benefits of that asset sooner than your savings would normally allow.
Okay, but how does that justify student loans? Because taking out $50,000 in loans at age 18 feels like financial suicide.
Let's break down the mathematical logic of a student loan. as presented in our source material. Education is an intangible asset. It is an investment in your own human capital that exponentially increases your value in the labor market. Statistically, on a macroeconomic scale, individuals with specialized higher education or advanced technical training earn significantly more over their lifetime than those without.
So education is an asset because it generates massive future income. I'm with you there.
Now, run the counterfactual scenario. Imagine you are determined to pay cash for your college education. You decide to work entry-level, minimum wage jobs for 10 solid years to save enough money to pay tuition outright without borrowing a dime.
Okay, I graduate debt-free at age 28. That sounds responsible.
It sounds responsible until you calculate the opportunity cost. By delaying your entry into your specialized career by a decade, you lost 10 years of earning that substantially higher salary. You missed out on a decade of compounding wealth and career advancement.
Oh, wow, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
The opportunity cost of waiting to save the cash is actually devastating to my lifetime earnings.
Exactly. This is the strategic value of productive debt. Debt enables you to acquire the education before you sell the bulk of your labor.
So I get the benefits earlier.
You borrow the money, you get the degree now, and you enter the highly paid workforce at age 22 instead of 28.
Okay.
Yes, you have a liability to pay off, but you use that significantly higher wage to service the debt, and mathematically, you still come out massively ahead over the course of a 40-year career. You use debt as leverage to maximize your total lifetime earnings.
So debt is a time machine. It buys you time.
I love that analogy.
This perfectly reconciles our earlier metaphor. Borrowing money to pay for your daily rent or food, or borrowing to buy fake bot viewers is a trap because it's consumption. It doesn't generate new value.
Right.
But borrowing to buy a top-tier streaming setup that instantly gets you sponsorships, or borrowing to get a degree that doubles your salary, that is productive debt.
Exactly.
If the asset you buy increases your income by more than the cost of the interest, the debt was a brilliant strategic move.
You have synthesized it perfectly. Debt is a financial trap when it is used to finance consumption, using credit cards for vacations, designer clothes, or expensive dinners.
Things that don't pay you back.
Right. Those items do not generate income or store wealth. They depreciate instantly. But when used carefully to acquire productive assets, debt is the most powerful lever for wealth creation in the modern economy.
Okay, this is intense. We have built a robust income flow. We've disciplined ourselves to ignore sunk costs. We've used debt strategically as a time machine to acquire income-generating assets, and maybe we sold a tiny bit of equity to scale up fast.
You're doing great.
We are basically running a digital financial empire at this point, but empires are fragile. Unforeseen things happen. Which brings us to our final crucial act, protecting your future.
This is vital.
How do we build an impenetrable fortress around this wealth so a single bad month or a random algorithm change doesn't wipe us out entirely?
The answer lies in rigorous risk management, and the primary, most effective tool for that is diversification.
Diversification.
Yeah.
Spreading the risk around. It's the old, don't put all your eggs in one basket proverb.
It is a cliche precisely because it is an immutable law of finance.
Yeah.
If you have all your economic eggs in a single basket and you happen to drop that basket, you are left with nothing.
That makes sense.
Apply this to your personal economy.
Right.
If you rely entirely on one single source of income, say a traditional full-time job, you are exposed to a catastrophic amount of risk.
Right.
If the broader economy dips, or your specific company gets acquired and downsizes, or your boss just decides they don't like you, your entire channel goes completely dark. Your income plummets to zero in a single afternoon.
That is terrifyingly fragile. So how do we engineer resilience into the system? The source material gives us a profile of a guy named Mark. Mark seems like the ultimate hustler.
Mark is a stellar example of diversifying income streams within the labor market itself.
What does he do?
Mark's primary basket is his full-time job as a school counselor. But he understands the risk of a single point of failure, so he doesn't stop there. He also tutors students in the evenings. During the summer months, he runs a small house painting business. And in his spare time on weekends, he buys and sells vintage sports memorabilia on the internet.
I see the strategy. If the school district suffers severe budget cuts and Mark gets laid off from his primary counseling job, it's painful, but he's not immediately destitute.
Exactly.
He still has the steady tutoring money coming in. He can quickly scale up his painting gigs by taking on more clients, and he can push his eBay store harder. He has actively diversified his labor across multiple buyers.
He has built an impressive safety net. However, Even Mark has a critical vulnerability if he stops at this stage. Think critically about his setup.
Okay, let me think.
What happens if Mark is in a severe car accident and gets physically injured?
Huh?
He can't paint houses, he can't commute to the school, he can't travel to his tutoring gigs.
Oh, wow.
He is still entirely 100% dependent on his own physical presence, labor, and time to generate cash.
So how does he fix that?
The ultimate bulletproof form of diversification isn't just having 4 different jobs. It is selling in both the labor market and the capital market simultaneously.
Ah, the light bulb just went on. So Mark doesn't just hustle for 4 jobs and leave the cash in a jar.
No, he doesn't.
If he is truly playing the long game, he takes the surplus from the summer house painting and the memorabilia sales, and he aggressively funnels it into the capital markets.
Exactly.
He maintains a standard checking account for immediate daily liquidity, but he also puts a chunk into a high-yield money market account for short-term emergency growth. And crucially, he builds a diversified portfolio of stocks, index funds, and bonds. He is playing in both arenas.
That is the absolute zenith of personal financial strategy. If
Yeah.
you are successfully trading in both the labor market and the capital market, you have built a true multi-layered hedge against systemic risk.
Yeah.
Let's run the disaster scenarios.
Okay, let's hear them.
If the stock market crashes by 20%, Mark doesn't panic and sell at a loss because he still has his steady, reliable paychecks from his counseling and tutoring to cover his daily living expenses. He can calmly ride out the market dip.
And conversely, if he loses his job or gets injured and literally cannot work, his investments do not care about his physical health. The stock market doesn't care if his leg is broken.
That's right.
His dividend checks keep arriving in the mail. His capital gains keep compounding in the background over time. His money is out there working a 24/7 shift, even when he is completely incapacitated.
By diversifying across multiple types of assets and across both labor and capital, you ensure that a single, localized economic disaster, whether personal or global, cannot cause total financial ruin. You've engineered true resilience into your life system.
Okay, this has been an incredibly dense, mind-expanding journey. Let's wrap this up and summarize the actual blueprint we've uncovered today.
Sounds good.
Managing money, as it turns out, is absolutely not a dry math test about memorizing formulas. It is a dynamic strategy game. It is high-level resource management. By treating your life like a startup tech company or a growing Twitch channel, you take total active control.
Yes, you do.
You rigorously track the flow of your viewer count and your churn, your income, and your fixed expenses. You aggressively train your brain to ignore sunk costs because you cannot change the past. You learn to leverage debt smartly as a time machine to buy productive assets that build your future value.
And finally, you relentlessly diversify your income streams.
So that no single algorithm change, corporate layoff, or economic dip can take you offline. You aren't just saving money, you are literally building freedom.
It is about engineering your life so that you always have options. That is the true underlying purpose of financial literacy. It's not about being rich, it's about being free.
I love that.
But before we sign off, I want to leave you with a final lingering thought to mull over regarding everything we've discussed today.
Okay, let's hear it.
We talked extensively about how education is a vital investment. You make that investment before you sell your labor in order to maximize your lifelong returns.
Right.
But consider this reality. As a high school student listening to this deep dive right now, your most abundant, most incredibly valuable, and absolutely irrecoverable asset is actually your time.
Wow. Okay.
Knowing what we just discussed about the brutal reality of opportunity cost, the fact that every single choice requires a sacrifice of the alternative. Every hour you spend scrolling aimlessly on a feed or forcing yourself to play a game you don't even like because of a sunk cost, instead of building your financial literacy or learning a rare, high-value skill, is actively costing you future freedom.
That is a massive perspective shift.
So I challenge you to ask yourself, what is the exact opportunity cost of the next hour of your life?
That is heavy, but it is exactly the perspective shift we need. Think about how you spend that next hour, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you feel equipped and empowered to take absolute control of your financial platform. Until next time, keep tracking your flow, keep leveling up your skills, and we will catch you on the next one.